In today's gospel, we have the scribes and the Pharisees, and they're appalled at the behavior of Jesus, that he is there eating with tax collectors and sinners, people who are public sinners because they were the ones extorting money. They were taking money from Rome, who was an oppressive government who the people hated. But they were not only doing that and supporting that government and helping that government, but they were also ingratiating themselves by taking any money that they could make above and beyond what was due to Rome. So to eat with someone in that position means that you, not just that you have a superficial relationship, but that you have a fellowship with them. So to eat with them would be considered absolutely appalling behavior. But Jesus addresses that parable about the love of God, that bold love of God, not a calculating kind of a love, but a bold love. And so he uses three parables. One parable is the parable of the lost sheep, the shepherd who goes in search of the one that's lost. Now, if we think about it in a calculating and a very businesslike way, we would never do that. It's just the cost of doing business. You had the one sheep who's lost. If he finds his way back, fine. If not, if you go in search of the one, you don't have GPS to find the sheep. You don't have a collar with GPS, so you're going to go off in one direction. Well, he may have gone the other direction. Even if you find him, what will happen to the other 99? And if you happen to find him, you might find a remains because of a wild animal might have gotten them. But then when you came back, what would happen to the 99? Would they have been scattered by wild animals? Would they have been taken by marauding shepherds? What would have happened to them? So again, in a calculating way, you would never have done that. The other one is the woman with the coin. Well, the woman with the coin is worth maybe a day's wages, but she's searching the house, searching. And then she finds the coin. Well, she has this party. Well, if you're having a party and you're inviting people over, then you're going to be spending certainly a large percentage, if not all of the coin on the party. So again, it doesn't necessarily make sense. The other one is that you have the parable of the prodigal son. The prodigal son is the one who is the younger son. He really has no inheritance coming to him. It goes to the older son. But he says, Father, I want the share that's mine. I don't want, I'm tired of you living. I want my share. I want to, as if you're dead, and I'm going to go off and spend my money. So the father does that. Which would be absolutely insulting, especially in that kind of a culture, for a younger son to say that. But he does make the provisions for the younger son. The younger son goes off to a distant country, or as Bishop Robert Barron says, off to the big empty. You can translate it as the big empty, which is good because when we think about it, the son is going off to find new plans, new means, away from family, away from the support, away from those kind of mores and values that he had. And so he's going off to find his own way. So he does so, and he's spending money freely. When he does, he has plenty of friends. Think about today, you have the people who are the athletes or the movie stars, and have plenty of friends and everything. But if the money begins to dry up, or if they're in an injury or something that doesn't allow them to make the money, then the friends go away as well. So that's what happened to him. So without friends and without support of the money, he goes and hires himself to the farmer, who puts him in with the swines, who's certainly lowest of the low in terms of a job. But he's doing that, and then has to come to basically three kind of conclusions. One is, I can wait this out no matter how bad things are. I'll try to wait it out. Number two, that maybe the grass is greener on the other side. So I'm looking for that I have that ability to make money. I have wisdom, and I have intelligence, and I have all these good things. So I know what I need. It's just a problem here of geography. I just need to go to the next place and everything will be better. So go over to the next hill and the next hill. Or he can humble himself and come back to the Father. And so that's what he does. But in a way, it was not a perfect contrition. Perfect contrition would be, Father, I've sinned against you. Do with me as you will. But instead, what he does is that he kind of weighs the economic situation with that self-interest. Hey, things aren't great here. Things are a lot better at my father's house, even among the hired servants. So I'll go back there and do that. So it is certainly a contrition, but it's certainly not perfect in terms of his contrition. So he goes back to the Father, and as he's doing so, he's probably rehearsing along the way, Father, I've sinned against heaven, against you. I no longer deserve to be called your son. Treat me as you will, one of your hired servants. And so in meeting the Father runs out to meet him. And in doing so, he cuts him off. He doesn't allow him to say, treat me as you will, one of your hired servants. Because to the Father, it is the Son. He's still the Son. And so what he does, he puts on those things that relate to his sonship, the ring on his finger, the shoes on his feet, all those kind of things that relate to him being the Son. Because it really wasn't, as one Protestant minister said, which I like, he said, it's not necessarily the money that was the problem. The Son thinks it's, hey, I've squandered all this money. The problem is that it was the real problem for the Father was that he broke his heart by wanting him basically to be away from him and to do everything on his own. So breaking the Father's heart was the real issue for the Father. And so they have the fatted calf, they have the rejoicing because he's now back. And then you have the son, the older son, who hears the sound of music and dancing and is wondering what's going on. And when he's told that it's the younger son who has returned, he's appalled. Because really, he's thought about the father as that kind of a cruel taskmaster. So if the younger son maybe thought of his father as the ginormous ATM in the sky, the older son thought of the father as the cruel taskmaster. I've got to work, I've got to do my part, I've got to please the Father by doing all this work, I've got to somehow appease him. And so really he had a wrong view of the Father. So just like the younger son had the wrong view of the Father, so too the older son has the wrong view of the Father. He has him as like a really nasty kind of an employer. And so he says, look, I've slaved over you, I've done all these things, and you've never given me anything. Well, did he ask? Or did he say, I'm going to be, I'm not going to ask, I'm going to do all these things, and I'm going to somehow make you have to do this for me because I've done all these things for you, so therefore you have to. So not wanting to do it out of love, but in a way, an employer-employee relationship, kind of a dysfunctional employer-employee relationship that he has. And so the Father has to tell him, listen, everything that I have is yours. You had to celebrate because the son, your brother, was lost and has been found. And so come to the party. And so it leaves it open-ended. Does the older son ever come back to the party? Does he ever come to that point of understanding the Father? I think that the one thing is that it's such a great parable because it really allows us to place ourselves in this parable. Sometimes we're the younger son who's squandering everything and not thinking about God and wanting to do everything on our own, wanting to think about other things other than God, wanting to worship other things other than God, spending money freely on things that do not satisfy. So sometimes we're like that younger son. Sometimes we're like the older son who says, look, Lord, look at what that person's doing. How dare they do that? Send down fire from heaven, like James and John. Shall we, Shall we call down fire from heaven, to consume those awful Samaritans? I think sometimes we can be like that older brother, but are we showing that mercy and love? And do we want others to know that mercy and love of the Father? And I think that's the kind of that open-ended question that makes this parable such a great parable. Thanks. God bless.